If you please rise to honor our nation's flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Here.
Mr. Leary?
Here.
Ms. Martin?
Here.
Mayor Murphy?
Here.
Ms. Rosikowicz?
Here.
Ms. Scott?
Here.
Mr. Conway?
Here.
7 present.
Thank you. We have minutes. Approval of the minutes of the regularly scheduled school committee meeting of Wednesday, July 10th, 2013. Motion to approve by Mr. Gignac, seconded by Ms. Scott. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have permission to enter. Permission to enter for August 21st, 2013. Madam Superintendent.
To SP&R Transportation of New Hampshire in the amount of $652,560 to amend the existing contract to provide special education transportation for students participating in special education summer school and after-school programs, funding provided by the school department, various grants. To NRT Bus Incorporated in the amount of $578,890 to amend the existing contract to provide regular education transportation for students participating in after-school activities and school field trips. Funding provided by school department and various grants. To Education Incorporated in the amount of $60,000 to provide academic support and tutoring services to special education students who are hospitalized. Funding will be provided by the Special Education Hospital Tutoring Account.
Thank you. What's the wish of the committee? Move to approve by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Rosikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Thank you. Next, we have memorials. Mr. Albert Cullen, father of retired Bailey School teacher Jane McOsker, and father-in-law of district support specialist Fred McOsker. Natalie Teixeira, aunt of special education director Jen McChrystal. Ann H. Arosis, mother of Lowell High School special education teacher Judy Irosis. Zachary Giss, 2010 Lowell High School graduate and nephew of Riley School head custodian Richard Sarmento. Rita Kelleher, grandmother of the central office grant account clerk Jackie Kelleher Roy. Michael I. Nelson, brother of retired Lowell High School athletic director Walter Nelson. Dr. Luke Cavany, son-in-law of United Teachers of Lowell secretary Nancy Giblin, and brother-in-law of Pine Arts teacher Megan Rozrowski. Ellen M. Savage, Butler and Daly Middle School math coach. Joan A. Minton, mother of payroll office clerk Cindy Higgins. And Phyllis Crisafulli, aunt of Director of Alternative Programs Margaret Ferrick. If you please rise in a moment of silence and darken chambers. Next, we have motions. First motion by Kristen Ross-Sikowicz, requests the superintendent establish a partnership with Youth Harbors to work with Lowell High School students who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless, to include students aging out of the state foster care system to find stable, long-term housing solutions. Seconded by Ms. Scott. Ms. Ross-Sikowicz.
Thank you, Mayor. I happened to come across this organization in my dealings with the city of Lowell, and they're putting together a homeless youth conference, which is coming up actually next year. And one of the organizations that was coming in to present was an organization called Youth Harbors, and they are directly affiliated with JRI. And their motto is housing, school, and success. According to their website, there are 5,853 homeless high school students throughout the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So Youth Harbors serves students who are homeless or at risk of homelessness and that are too old for child services and are too young for adult services. So currently, they're working in partnership with other high schools, particularly in the greater Boston area, Malden, Everett, Boston, and Somerville. They provide wraparound services that include academic planning, financial literacy, career and mental health counseling, housing, and basic necessities. They're in the third year of operation, and 92% of their students who participated either graduated or are on track to graduate from high school. 97% of the youth served through this program or through this organization are in permanent housing after exiting the program. So for our kids, for our students that are at risk or who are homeless within our district, particularly at the high school, certainly, algebra is not necessarily a priority when they're looking for their next place to sleep. So I thought this would be a terrific complement to the social work the great social work that's already done at our high school, and would be a great complement to our system. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next motion by Mr. David Conway to ask the superintendent to work with headmaster to review the feasibility of restoring the Lowell High School clock on Kirk Street to its original working condition, utilizing but not limited to our many city partners. Seconded by Mr. Gignac. Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just very briefly, it's a situation that the headmaster has been starting to deal with and do some investigation. And I think that the clock at Lowell High School has been a symbol for anyone that, anyone that has been has attended Lowell High School. I think it's a very special thing. And then you see that it hasn't worked, and it hasn't worked for a number of years. And there certainly is history there. And I look at the 3 years that are under that clock, and it's 1937, 38, and 39. And I'm kind of proud of it because actually my mother was on that 1939 class. So I'd like to see this restored, and I think if we put this into a subcommittee at Lowell High School, I'm sure that it will be going through a number of different processes so that we can certainly get the updates, and if the headmaster needs any specific help with it, we could be there through that subcommittee. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next motion by Mr. James Leary to request the superintendent develop a team and provide a strategic plan for the writing and submitting of the Carol M. White Physical Education Program grant for the 2014-2015 school year. Comprehensive grant is awarded to schools and organizations to initiate, expand, and improve physical education programs. The Lowell Public Schools is in need of expanding and improving physical education, curriculum, and instruction, as well as awareness to childhood health and obesity. Being awarded this grant would assist the district in ensuring that all students have access to a well-articulated physical education program from pre-K through 12. You're welcome, Mr. Leary, for doing your work. Mr. Gignac. Seconded by Mr. Gignac. Mr. Leary.
I'll be shorter than the actual reader of the motion, and just two key points to point out. One, we do have a grant writer now, and two, that person has extensive experience in actually successfully getting and obtaining these grants. And three, which I think is very important, this is up to $1 million, which with the challenging budget times which we will be faced again next year, that would be really positive for not only our physical education department, our sports, but also after school, where I think many of my colleagues have worked hard trying to develop different programs. There's another motion tonight, which I'm sure we'll all be willing to work into in terms of working with folks and their needs after school. This might be a good funding mechanism to try to achieve multiple goals that are out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conway.
Yeah, just very quickly, through you, Mr. Mayor, to the superintendent. Is this something that you would try to take care of it yourself with your team, or would you ask the grant writer that has been, I believe has been on board for about a month. Would you ask her to take a look at that, to see the feasibility of it? How would you handle this?
Thank you, Mr. Leary and Mr. Conway. The process for approaching grants to Lowell Public Schools goes through the executive board. It's a community foundation type piece. Recommendations that are made go through that board. This would be a viable recommendation that can go forward. You're asking to request the feasibility of this particular grant, but Susan Lynn, who you will meet on the 18th, the meeting of the 18th, she most assuredly meets with the board looking at grant proposals that meet the goals and objectives of the school district, and that's the process. And so this particular motion is something that would go into consideration through that executive board, yes.
Thank you, Madam Superintendent.
Anyone else wishing to speak on the motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next motion by Ms. Kim Scott.
Mr. Mayor, I
Mr.
think you skipped one up there. Before Mr. Leary.
Oh, sure. Next motion by Mr. David Conway. To ask the superintendent to work with the headmaster to gather pertinent information that will help guide the school department with feasibility of having an earlier start time to the day at the high school beginning with the 2014-2015 school year. Second by Mr. Gignac. Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be very brief on this. I think it's something that's been brought up in the past. If we take a look at our student body, many of them have afternoon activities, whether they're going to work. Many of these students have to meet their siblings, younger siblings, to take care of them. Also, many of them are involved with clubs and different types of activities and sports. And I think it would make things a lot easier if we could take a look at that and have the Madam Superintendent and the headmaster just gather some information this year and do just a study on it to see if it makes any sense in the feasibility, whether it would be a positive or a negative for the school system. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I think getting the information that Mr. Conway is requesting is great. If I could also request that, it is many studies have been done, in education circles over over many years, which consistently state that high school students perform best at later hours, that kind of our whole education system in the country is set up so that high schools start first, when in fact high school students perform worst in the early morning hours, and that there's been a lot of push to push back the start times for high schools. I'm not saying that's a decision maker one way or the other, but I would like it to be part of the conversation. If we could get perhaps the most updated studies on this topic, just so we can understand that what we're going to be balancing in making our decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leary?
No, and I agree with Ms. Martin in terms of getting all the information. Mr. Conway and I had put a previous motion on about a year and a half ago regarding the same. So I think looking at all this information as we start to talk with the teachers union and other unions who will have to be in agreement with this type of a change, I think getting that information and lining it up well in advance is a positive thing, and definitely willing to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak on the motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next motion by Ms. Kim Scott and Mr. David Conway. Request the superintendent develop and implement inclusive recruitment strategies and promote the hiring of staff members from diverse backgrounds. Not requiring a second. Ms. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I put this motion forward with Mr. Conway after looking at the DESE statistics for Lowell that revealed that we have a 98% minority population, but a staff that is 91% white, according to their website. I would just like to see some recruitment strategies brought forward that would help to make our staff more reflective of our population, possibly including referrals from minority staff members, maybe using diverse news sources to post the job positions that are open, and maybe recruiting to, different sources than we normally do. So I look forward to seeing that plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Conway?
Yeah, just very quickly, when I discussed this with Ms. Scott, there certainly is a need. I think there certainly is a need in the school system to reach out to the minority community. And as Ms. Scott has certainly pointed out, there is a disproportionate that has taken place, and I think that we need to reach out as much as possible so that the staff will tend to reflect the student body and try to recruit some very qualified candidates. And if we have qualified candidates in our own system, I think we should look very carefully at them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next motion by Ms. Kristen Ross-Sikowicz and Ms. Kim Scott. Request the superintendent formulate and implement a comprehensive plan for before and after school child care and enrichment programming for all schools in the district, for all children in the district, including children with developmental and/or physical disabilities. Not requiring a second. Ms. Scott or Ms. Ross-Sikowicz?
I'll
Ms.
speak on.
Ross-Sikowicz.
Thank you very much. The motion is self-explanatory, but certainly having before and after school care or indoor enrichment programming in various schools certainly drives the desirability of our families to drive their or enroll their children in those particular schools. And I think that in speaking with parents and with educators across the district, it's clear that we need to increase our offerings. And I think that there's a great opportunity for both private and public partnerships. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I mean, I think it will be a fun exercise in essentially creating a menu of services and activities that principals can draw from to complement their school schedules throughout the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next motion by Ms. Connie Martin to convene the Personnel Subcommittee for the purposes of beginning the superintendent's annual evaluation. Second by Ms. Ross-Sikowicz. Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. A very self-explanatory motion. I would like to convene the Personnel Subcommittee for the purposes of
All
beginning.
those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have subcommittee reports. Personnel Subcommittee, approval of the minutes of the meeting of Tuesday, July 9th, 2013. Motion to approve by Mr. Gignac, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Finance Subcommittee, approval of the minutes of the meeting of Tuesday, July 9th, 2013. Motion to approve by Ms. Ross-Sikowicz, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have the Lowell High School Subcommittee, report and approval of the minutes of the meeting of Tuesday, August 13th, 2013. Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Excuse me. We met on August 13th, and present were myself, Mr. Gignac, Kristen Ross-Sikowicz, other members, Kim Scott, and from the central office, we had Jean Frankel, the superintendent, and Claire Abrams, assistant superintendent, who happens to take care of this report. And again, I thank you in advance, Ms. Abrams, for the report. And the other personnel was Brian Martin, the new Lowell High School headmaster. The agenda for the subcommittee meeting included the following topics: the ROTC position, additional instructor, custodial position, resignation, advisor position, athletic coach discussion, and also a coach's travel reimbursement. At this particular time, I don't know if it would be appropriate, but could we suspend the rules, make a motion to suspend the rules? We have someone here that would like to speak on this subcommittee meeting.
Sure. Motion to suspend the rules by Mr. Conway, seconded by Mr. Gignac. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. If you just please state your name and address for the record.
Michael Sheehan, 97 Forest Street, Lowell, Mass. It's been a while since I've been up here. Feels different. It's been brought to my attention this week that there was a subcommittee meeting last week at the high school, and one of the things that had come up from the headmaster had to do with a custodial position. We had an employee that had resigned over the summer I guess the recommendation for the headmaster was not to fill that position and to use those funds to create a new position in the ROTC. I spoke to Mr. Conway before the meeting. Apparently, there's obviously a need for an ROTC employee. The numbers in the ROTC are getting pretty big, and there's a long waiting list, which certainly we have no problem with. I mean, that's commendable, and that's probably something that should be done. I also don't think that it's fair to cut from one population of employees to add another employee. I would respectfully ask that you not take the recommendation not to fill the custodian position, and let's sit down with the headmaster and try to figure out other ideas, or to look for other fundings for the ROTC, wherever they might be. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Conway?
Thank you. The first item was the ROTC position, and Mr. Martin was asked to evaluate the high school and the needs of the high school. He felt that there was a number of students left out of the program, approximately 120 students last year, and the headmaster reviewed the Air Force memorandum of agreement and talked about the idea that it was extremely important to bring this person on board instead of bypassing 120 students. So the headmaster is asking for a recommendation to fill that position with the monies that would be used to save on the resignation from the custodian's job. Half the benefits would be handled by the Air Force, taken care of, covered by it. Also, Mr. Martin explained that, Headmaster Martin explained that he thought it would be extremely important, because of the student makeup, to reach out to a minority candidate and try to get in particular, even a female, so that it would help to reflect the makeup of the ROTC program. So there was a motion by Mr. Gignac and second by Ms. Ross-Sikowicz to recommend to the committee as a whole to support the moving of funds for this year and review funding at the end of next year. It was accepted 3-0 and to be brought to the full committee. Do I make that as a motion, Mr. Mayor?
Motion by Mr. Conway, second by Ms. Martin. On the motion, Ms. Martin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Can I just ask, this comment that we would not be offering health benefits for this fourth position, can we legally do that?
The ROT positions themselves, where they were in the military, they actually received their retirement insurance through the government. So it's not that we're not offering insurance to them. Where they are full-time employees, they could avail themselves to it, but their actual insurance package that they receive through the federal government is better than our insurance package, so they don't typically take it.
Okay, so when it says that it's not offered for this fourth position, that's consistent then for all four positions?
No,
That this fourth position won't be,
I think it was just assumed that they wouldn't take it. It's available and offered to any of the four, so it would even be eligible. This person could take it. It's just they've actually retired and are already receiving benefits, the ROTC instructors, through the government, so they just typically don't take city benefits.
okay, thank you.
Mr. Leary?
Just a quick follow-up to what Mr. Sheen was saying. I think we have a facility subcommittee meeting, I think it's next Monday. I'm not sure of the date if it's been scheduled yet, but part of that agenda should probably be overall staffing for custodians, not just at the high school, but as we go through the projects that we're doing at the various schools, we're also looking at what the consultants are doing in terms of what our K through 12 schools need. We should really make staffing a part of that issue. I know that when we went through the troubles, as it were, we basically laid off a lot of custodians, across the board. I can't think of the numbers, like 12 to 13 in that number. I think that's time now to really re-look at that staffing, have Mr. Curley be a part of that process in terms of developing what we should have. I know he's laid out reports in the past regarding that, but it's something we should continue, just based on Mr. Sheen's dialogue, that I think it is important to look at again. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I obviously support bringing forward this new ROTC position because the need is obviously there. However, the need is also there for the maintenance of our buildings, and we have invested quite a bit of money on the infrastructure and maintaining the facility, specifically this past summer. And as Mr. Sheehan had mentioned to me before the meeting, the square footage is not decreasing. So this is something that we do need to talk about, and I think right now we do need to move forward with the ROTC position, but I don't want to totally just forget about this custodian position. So I think this is a discussion that we need to continue to have.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Mr. Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next is the advisor report and the recommendations. The Headmaster Martin made the following recommendations after studying the number of students who actually attend these clubs at the high school. As a result, no students being active members in this recommendation that the following clubs be deleted: the Asian Pacific American Youth Club, Environmental Club, Future Educators of American Club, Hispanic Club, Women's Club. And what he asked for instead was that he felt that there was a need after talking with the staff. Headmaster Martin stated that after the discussion with the Student Activities Advisor, he believes that the following clubs would be of great interest to the students at the high school: Outdoor Adventure Club, Robotics Club, Student Affairs Club, TV Production, and 100 Club. And Mr. Gignac, there was a motion made by Mr. Gignac, second by Ms. Ross Sikowicz, to recommend to the committee as a whole to support the deletion of the underrepresented clubs and addition of the new clubs, ensuring that a side letter of agreement with the UTL be completed before moving forward with any new recommendations. I bring that forward to the full committee as a motion.
Motion by Mr. Conway, second by Mr. Gignac. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Next on the agenda was the athletic coach discussion. It was a recommendation. The Headmaster Martin reviewed the athletic director's recommendation for a coach's position for 2013-2014. Although many positions, as he stated, may be needed, it is the recommendation of the headmaster to increase one salary, in other words, to bring it up equal to others. And that was the head golf coach, which would be equal to the spring tennis coaches. This would be an increase of $1,876, and all other requests will be evaluated over the course of the next 3 seasons. The headmaster will present recommendations in the 14-15 school budget, but at this particular time, that is the only recommendation. Mr. Gignac, a motion by Mr. Gignac, second by Ms. Ross Sikowicz, to recommend to the committee as a whole to approve the transfer of funds within the athletic budget to fund the increase in salary, ensuring that a side letter of agreement with the UTL be completed until the next round of contract negotiations, passed 3-0, and to be brought to the full committee for a vote as a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Conway, seconded by Ms. Ross Sikowicz. All those in favor? Excuse me. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
And the last item was a coach's reimbursement request. One of the coaches in the all-state indoor track championships, and the original request of $800 actually was exceeded because of many of the girls ended up qualifying and participating in the events. and the individual coach used his money at that point of $634.91 in order that the girls could also participate too. The headmaster is requesting, recommend the reimbursement to this particular coach from the Lowell High School Athletic Fund. Motion by Mr. Gignac, second by Ms. Rosikowicz, to recommend to the committee as a whole to support the additional reimbursement to the coach, and that was accepted 3-0, and I bring that forward to the full committee.
Motion by Mr. Conway, second by Mr. Gignac. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin? Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
And there was finally a motion by Mr. Gignac, second by Ms. Rosikowicz, to adjourn 3-0, the meeting adjourned at 6:49. And
Thank you.
thank you,
Motion
Mr.
to
Mayor.
accept the report as a report of progress, so moved by Mr. Gignac, second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have reports of the superintendent. Excuse me. Next, we have the subcommittee for policy. Report and approval of the minutes of the meeting of Wednesday, August 14th, 2013. Ms. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The policy subcommittee meeting was held on Wednesday, August 14th. The meeting was called to order at 7:07 p.m. Present were subcommittee members, actually myself, Kristen Ross-Sikowicz, and David Conway. Also present were members Connie Martin and Robert Gignac. School department personnel present included Jean Franco, Superintendent of Schools, and Jay Lang, Deputy Superintendent of Schools. And also present was the City Solicitor, Christine O'Connor. The first item on the agenda was the introduction of policy BCC nepotism. I provided the subcommittee members with the proposed policy that I developed pertaining to nepotism. A copy of the proposed policy is in the package. Ms. Ross-Sikowicz suggested that Section 4 be amended to include an annual disclosure by school committee members of immediate or extended family members employed in the Lowell Public Schools. A motion was made by myself, seconded by Dave Conway, to recommend to the full school committee that the proposed policy be referred to the Lowell City Law Department for review and recommendations. And I would bring that forward to the full committee. Approval.
Second by Ms. Ross-Sikowicz.
Sorry. Oh, okay, I thought I had to go forward to the whole committee. Okay. Okay.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so
Say aye.
voted. Ms. Scott.
I was trying to include everybody, Connie. Okay. The second item was planning for the policy review manual going forward. I asked Christine O'Connor to give us an update on the status of the contract request with the Mass School Committees to review the policy manual. She discussed conversations she had with Mass School Committee Council pertaining to the contract language. She didn't like that it had an indemnification clause in it. She suggested that if the terms cannot be reached between the City of Lowell and the Mass School Committees to perform the service, that a lawyer from the City of Lowell Law Department could be assigned to assist with the review going forward. A motion was made by David Conway, seconded by Kristen Ross-Sikowicz, to accept the verbal discussion as a report of progress. And a motion to adjourn was made at 7:28 p.m.
Any discussion on this report? Entertain a motion to accept the report as a report of progress. So moved by Ms. Ross-Sikowicz, seconded by Mr. Conway. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have reports of the superintendent. First is donation to the IDEA Camp. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maycom Corporation has donated $5,000 donation to the IDEA Camp that occurred, and so I would hope that you're in favor of accepting this donation, and if we could take a roll call on that particular area. I'd like to thank Martha Cohn, Coordinator of Science and Social Studies, and Doug Prime, who continually look for funding and ran a very successful camp that you'll hear about later in this meeting.
Thank you. Motion to accept. So moved by Mr. Conway, seconded by Ms. Martin. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to accept this report of progress. So moved by Ms. Scott, seconded by Ms. Ross Sikowicz. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next report is renaming of the Malloy School. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This committee has been extremely supportive of any moves we've tried to extend our alternative programs, but I want to officially make sure that a name change of the school was reviewed by all here. And so the recommended name of the Malloy School is the Lowell High School Alternative School at the Hugh J. Malloy School. It will be referred to as the Lowell High School Career Academy at the Hugh J. Malloy School officially. And so from just the Hugh J. Malloy School, this is a bit of a change, so for your review.
Thank you. What's the wish of the committee?
So moved.
Move to approve by Ms. Ross Sikowicz, seconded by Ms. Martin. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Motion to accept the report as a report of progress. So moved by Mr. Leary, seconded by Mr. Gignac. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next report on summer leadership. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, I wanted to make the committee aware of the administrative actions that have taken place thus far. We are actually finishing leadership tomorrow because of a problem we had with our infrastructure and our technology. We had to cancel one the last week for this week, but we have, I have attached the agendas for the meetings, but we have spent a good deal of time looking at data, which is still embargoed, but looking at the data for planning purposes. We've looked at education evaluation, building shared leadership teams and what that takes, as well as the essential work of the educator evaluation. And we, tomorrow, will be working with Teach Point, the company that was approved by this committee to do the management of all the evaluation forms. We will do more details. So beyond that, just on Tuesday morning, all the administrators in the district were afforded the luxury to meet with the consulting group that is doing the external review, the whole safety review and facilities group review. We found a very nice session, and I know that will be reviewed at an upcoming facilities meeting, but the time was wisely spent, and people are very excited to start school and looking forward to doing our best work with the young people of Lowell. So I just wanted to make you all aware of where we are in the training piece.
Thank you. Any discussion on the report? Entertain a motion to accept the report as a report of progress. So moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have the list of eligible teachers. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This, of course, is your monthly list that tells you all the eligible teachers that are available for hire.
Any discussion? Motion to accept as a report of progress by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Scott. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have the personnel report. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is your monthly report that informs you of retirements, resignations, promotions, and new hires up until today for your review.
Any discussion on this report? Entertain a motion to accept the report as a report of progress. So moved by Mr. Gignac, seconded by Mr. Leary. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have the 2013 Idea Camp update. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, we did have an extra camp this summer at the Rogers School, the Idea Camp, and we did have participation by many students. The total number of students were 155. 63 were Lowell Public Schools who extended with scholarships. 35 attended from out of the Lowell School District. 5 of our teachers were trained in STEM-related activities and project-based learning. We also had UTeach students from UMass that were part of our team. The funding was provided through the Gelfand Foundation, Kronos, and MassCom. The number of students by school is here noted, and there were 11 week-long programs that included carnival contraptions, flight school, game makers, crime science, robot missions, architect's studio, and wire your bedroom. I will say, as a person who's been around children for, this is my 35th year, believe it or not, for 35 years, it was the most organized and well-run. We really didn't even know the children were there until we went to the Friday sessions, and children spoke of their projects. We had almost every parent, because there was pickup involved, came to see the progress. It was really exciting and very well run. So we were very happy to run the idea camp, happy for the support, and the parents were very, very engaged. I will tell my favorite story just because I can. There was a family that came from New York that vacationed in Lowell so a child could go to our camp, because they looked for a kind of an idea camp or a STEM camp on the Eastern Seaboard, and so they came. And so, of course, I was introduced to that family. We had a great deal of teachers, nephews and nieces that paid out-of-district tuition. It was very exciting. So it's just the beginning of the work we're doing in extending that STEM piece, but let me just share a little enthusiasm. So thank you all very much for your support for a different kind of model. That was the first time we accepted fee for service, and that was because of the forward thinking of this committee, and I thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Martin and then Mr. Leary.
Thank you very much. I certainly share your enthusiasm and excitement about this program. I think it's wonderful to have completed our first summer with this exceptional opportunity for students. I know we all recognize that we want to see it grow and thrive and give more and more students the opportunity for this. I think one of the key things about our model that I really think will increase the impact of this is the idea that we took 5 of our own public school teachers, they participated in this program and will now be able to replicate it, so that it's not going to be such a rarefied kind of summer-only experience. We're going to be able to incorporate this into after-school programs as well as ultimately into our classrooms. So that's really an exciting thing. I just wanted to, and just to plant a seed for next year. I know that we'll, I'm sure, have many conversations about this over the next year. There was, I believe, one wrinkle in terms of the way we did charge Lowell residents, that Lowell residents who weren't in the public schools were charged the out-of-district fee. I understand that that was part of it was clearly delineated. There was no question about that in the way the grants were submitted, so I understand why it happened the way it did. It is a topic that I'd like us to be able to discuss before next year's program, so that we can have an opportunity to consider if we would be able to, and certainly it would be my hope, that we'd be able to give all Lowell residents, all Lowell children, an opportunity to get the Lowell-based rate, regardless of if they're in the Lowell public schools or not. So I definitely congratulate all those involved, and I really think this is a great thing to have brought to our district, and I think we're going to see some real payoff for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leary.
No, just to echo everything that Ms. Martin said, but just really focus on the plan to increase the program for next year. I mean, what type of target dates are you thinking of to lay out? What type of numbers are you looking for? How do we continue the number of grants? 63 folks that went on a different type of scholarship is amazing. 120 students is amazing. The question then is, where do we go from here, and what type of goals are you going to be benchmarking? What type of goals are you going to have so we can start benchmarking to see if we're making improvement? What time frames are you going to bring that before the committee?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Leary. First of all, really echoing what Committeewoman Martin said, the training of our own staff was pivotal. And so thinking of how we bring and equip, we've worked on developing labs within the district. So the Robinson School, the Butler School, there are teachers who have been very actively involved throughout us expanding more science and technology, engineering, mathematics standards, in our curriculum. So we do have 5 additionally locally trained teachers who would be willing to run these programs. Very excited. Each one of them made sure they spoke to us when we went to visit. So the first piece is that we hope to be able to deliver those programs more around town, so a child could stay after school in their particular program for this particular piece. Another exciting part of the STEM pathway was this week at the Rogers was diversity. I have visited the university camp before, and it was not the most diverse. This was very diverse. There are lots of kids there. So continuing that, I believe that with word of mouth, with us beginning this, that we could extend this by probably another 100 students. Ms. Cohn and Mr. Prime are thinking of that to see if we can have more sessions or fill all of the sessions. The attendance was phenomenal, and by the end, we were a little worried about a couple of the camps filling up, but they did. So they would love for us to have more, and so that would go with the commitments of the companies and to expand that. But right now, we're looking at getting the equipment, working on the standards in our day program, of course, because that's really important. Those are all parts of the planning. And I'm sure that Ms. Abrams, who is very avant-garde about the curriculum subcommittee meeting, will be presenting the next stages in our next administrative highlights, which will be coming out, I believe, tomorrow. There's an update on all the curriculum areas, and science is quite robust. So this is just a flavor of the educational changes across the district in science. So we're excited.
Thank you. Ms. Ross-Sikowicz? Any further discussion? Entertain a motion to accept the report as report of progress. So moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Gignac. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Next, we have new business. Permission to post for the Coordinator of Leadership Support and Development. Madam Superintendent.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the Personnel Subcommittee of July 9th, the idea of the Coordinator for Staff Development Programs was presented to the committee. At that particular time, it was requested that more time was allowed for it to be reviewed by the committee. The importance of this position is to really make sure that overseeing the supervision and evaluation across the district, as far as the not as much the compliance piece, because evaluators and teachers are very good at the compliance piece. We're talking about our reliability and validity across the district. This is a phenomenal opportunity. It's actually history changing of how we're doing the evaluations across the Commonwealth. This is an opportunity for training of the principals, assistant principals, for coaching, where we need to make sure that the right evaluation pieces go on, that there's work with both the UTL and the LSAA to make sure that we unwrap this whole project in the right way possible. To be honest with you, it could be funded, the race to the top piece as far as the position is my recommendation compared to spending equal, if not more, funding on outside consulting. So this was recommended back in at the July meeting for your review, and if you have any questions, I welcome them.
Any discussion? Mr. Leary.
Just, I'm going through it, and just, what is the salary? It's a salary and work year per LSA contract. What is, I might be missing the,
It would be in the, I don't believe the salary's on here.
range, yeah.
It's in the coordinator grid with all the other coordinators of LSAA. It's a 212-day year-round position. I'm going to say it's in the, again, it all depends on years of service and degree, 80s to 90s, somewhere in there, because it is a year-round position. Basically, the position, because we're not funding the Race to the Top coordinator anymore, we're able to now switch the funding over to this position, because that position was vacated June 30th. So now we're able to switch the funding to fund this.
Okay, so it's coming from Race to the Top then, and you're also...
Yeah, it's a Race to the Top grant.
The part that was interesting is that you're really trying to save on consultants as well. You're trying to bring it in-house. That's the overall goal. Okay. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Any further discussion? Madam Superintendent.
Yeah, just quickly, Mr. Mayor, thank you. This district, this is the number one priority in the Race to the Top, making sure that evaluation piece is put into place. And so this is a pivotal year to make sure that legwork is done. So just wanted to make sure that that work has to be accomplished no matter how, but the extra support will be very helpful.
Any further discussion? Entertain a motion. Motion to approve by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Ross-Sikowicz. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Thank you. Next, we have permission to extend employment for 2 temporary plumbers. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a report here from Deputy Superintendent Lang requesting to continue the employment for the 2 temporary plumbers. I would probably be remiss, after Mr. Lang wrote a 2-page report about how much was accomplished, to see if he had any comments, but there has been much accomplished with these extra staff members, and I would ask if Mr. Lang wants to add any detail.
Sure. Very briefly, this initiative that the committee supported a few months back has really yielded tremendous progress and opportunity for us. One of the issues that had been kind of plaguing us for years is just kind of the backlog of work orders and repairs, and plumbing had been an issue in an area that was really in dire need of some repair. So in the last year's city capital plan, we had earmarked a line item for about $170,000 to have this project completed. We put the project out to bid, if you recall, in March, and I think the lowest bid we received to do the project was about $210 or $225. So we decided to try something a little different and actually bring the staff on ourselves, as opposed to contracting it out and having to pay prevailing wage, and have some direct control over it. So we worked with the city to do that. We hired 2 temporary plumbers, and our goal was to be able to come in over the summer, and then actually we have the salary slated to go until the end of October and complete this project. And the 2 individuals we hired did an incredible job. They actually just last week wrapped up. They've gone through all 224 of the water fountains in the school department. I know it might seem like a small thing to some people. It's really a huge thing for the people in the schools. And they have either, they've tested them all, they've either repaired them to full working order or replaced, I think, over 50 units just in whole that were broken. And the cost is just shy of $45,000. So really on time, as well as just really being very cost effective in its use, it's been tremendous for us. What I would like to be able to do is actually retain the employees and kind of guarantee their employment through the rest of the fiscal year. June 30th, they're already on board through October 31st, and be able to use the rest of that money that's been allocated for plumbing capital to be able to now go deeper into the project and really start to wipe out some of the backlog of plumbing repairs and fixture switch outs that are needed. It'll be nice to be able to offer a little more security to the folks that are working the temporary jobs, so that they're not fearful and looking at the same time for their next opportunity, that we can retract them and again utilize that extra capital, which has been hugely successful. The school staff, I have to tell you, are very impressed and happy coming back day one with this. So not to say too much further, I would appreciate that. We're going to be talking about it further in the facilities subcommittee when we get together. And I think this is kind of our first foray into doing this. And I think we can talk about other opportunities for piloting different things with other trades as we go forward. But I would recommend there's a motion at the end of this, basically to authorize the extension of the work for the rest of the fiscal year, so that we can then utilize the rest of the capital money and do kind of a phase 2 and keep working on this plumbing.
Thank you. Mr. Leary?
Make that as a form of a motion.
Motion by Mr. Leary, second by Mr. Gignac. Mr. Gignac.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to mention how truly impressed I was reading this report, because we spent months discussing work orders and facility issues, and a lot of that had to do with plumbing. And like you said, water bubblers doesn't sound like a big deal, but when you're speaking to teachers, students, and parents, it is a big deal. And the fact that all of our water bubblers are finally working is huge. And that's a lot to do with this committee's support in making that happen. Just the fact that we were able to take off over 200 work orders is huge. It's huge. And the fact that we'll be able to continue that on throughout the year, hopefully that backlog will just continue to shrink. So I thank everybody here for making this happen, because once the doors open to our schools, the kids will be able to use the water fountains, the toilets, and the sinks. And throughout my time in the school system, that has never been the case. So thank you.
You'll have to find something else to point out on your visits to the school.
Just
Mr. Leary.
Just quickly, the small things are important. And if you're walking by in a hallway and you see a water fountain like we have at the high school in a black bag, that's embarrassing. The pride that you expect to have for the students, why would you have pride in your school if your water fountain has a black bag over it? So what these gentlemen have done it seems like we're making praise on something that's quite frankly, it should already be happening. But, we're thankful that it is starting to go in the right direction, and we need to keep on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this motion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Thank you. Next, we have convention and conference requests, and entertain a motion to take all three together. So moved by Ms. Martin, second by Mr. Leary. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. Motion to approve all three. So moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Mr. Leary. Roll call, please.
Mr. Gignac?
Yes.
Mr. Leary?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Mayor Murphy?
Yes.
Ms. Ross Sikowicz?
Yes.
Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Conway?
Yes.
7 yeas, approved.
Thank you. Entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved by Ms. Rosikowicz, second by Ms. Scott. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, so voted. We stand adjourned.